Hi friends, let us continue with the topic. We have discussed about CBD and their objectives in the previous video and now under this CBD convention two protocols are laid down. One is Cartagena and the other is Nagayo. Now let us discuss about Cartagena protocol. Right? Cartagena. Now what this exactly says? It shows you how to save biodiversity from potential risk posed by living modified organisms resulting from modern biotechnology. Right now, this is the exact protocol. It shows you how to save biodiversity from living modified organisms. It seems now this is the crux point, right? Living modified organisms. Right now we call it as LMOs. Right now see here, this protocol is an international treaty governed under Convention on Biological Diversity. Now it was adopted on 29th Jan 2000. 29th Jan 2000. Right now, how to save this biodiversity? Now the points how to save the biodiversity and the precautionary measures and the precautionary approaches are clearly given in Principle 15 of Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. Right, all the points and precautionary approaches are given in Principle 15 of Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. Right, I'm writing the crux points on the board. Right, done. Now this is Cartagena protocol. Now let us go into the next one, Nagayo protocol. Nagayo protocol. Now what this protocol exactly says? Now this explains you how to share the benefits arising from the utilization of genetic resources in a fair and equitable way, and also it emphasizes the appropriate access to genetic resources and appropriate transfer of relevant technologies. Now this protocol exactly says how to share the benefits arising from utilization of genetic resources. Utilization of genetic resources. This is the exact crux point. Right, focus on this. Now this was an previous UPSC question about Nagayo protocol. Now this was adopted at Nagayo, Japan 2010. Right, apart from this it also ensures appropriate funding for contribution of conservation of biological diversity. Right, now the next concept what we deal in this Nagayo protocol is Aichi biodiversity targets. Aichi biodiversity targets. Now what is this HE biodiversity targets? Now this is a set of 20 time bound measurable targets agreed by parties to Convention on Biological Diversity in Nagayo, Japan in 2010. Right now this is an 20 measurable targets, time bound targets agreed by the parties, it seems. Now what are these 20 measurable targets? Now these 20 measurable targets are classified under 5 strategic goals. Right, now let us discuss about this 5 strategic goals. Now first strategic goal is strategic goal A. Right, I will write strategic goal as SG. Now what this strategic goal A says? It addresses the underlying causes of biodiversity loss, and also it mainstreams the biodiversity across governments and society. It shows you the exact causes for the loss of biodiversity. Right, now this is the strategic goal A. Now next one, strategic goal B. What it exactly says? Now it shows you how to reduce the pressure on diversity and promote sustainable use. It shows how to reduce the pressure on biodiversity. Now see, all the things are related to biodiversity only, so I am writing the crux points here. Right, next one, strategic goal C. What it exactly says? Now it shows you how to improve the biodiversity by safeguarding ecosystems, species and genetic diversity. Right, it shows you how to safeguard the levels of biodiversity. Levels of biodiversity is nothing but species, genetic and ecosystem biodiversity. Right, now next strategic goal D. What it says? Now it shows you how to enhance the benefits to all from biodiversity and ecosystem services. Right, it shows you how to enhance the benefits, from biodiversity and ecosystem services. Right, now what does strategic goal E says? Now strategic goal E says about implementation of participatory learning, knowledge management and capacity building. Right, now it shows you about your training, research, how to plan to save the biodiversity. Right, so I'll write in one word, knowledge management. These are the Aichi biodiversity targets under Nagayo protocol. So the next convention what we have to learn about is BirdLife International. Right, BirdLife International. Now what is this BirdLife International? Now this is the world's largest nature conservation partnership. Right, now it strives to conserve birds, their habitats and global biodiversity, and they work with people towards sustainable use of natural resources where birds live. Now this is the largest conservation on birds. Right, largest conservation on birds partnership. Right, so we will deal every convention, right, either in general or in detail. Right, this BirdLife International you can know in general itself. Right, now the next concept what we will deal is IUCN. IUCN, already you know that I have written the full form of IUCN in the previous video. What is IUCN? International Union for Conservation of Nature, right? IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. You have to be very perfect in the full forms, right? Now, this is the world's oldest and largest global environmental organization, and it was founded in 1948, right? And it is the leading authority, as you know that. Now it focuses on the sustainable development of biodiversity, food and development, and how to save the ecosystems. All these things are general, right? Now it is headquartered in Gland, Switzerland. Gland, Switzerland. Now let us come to the exact features what this IUCN is used for. Now see here, this IUCN will give you a book called Red Data List, right? This Red Data List is the world's most comprehensive inventory for global conservation of biological species. It shows you which species are in threatened category and which species are in different categories. We will deal all the categories in detail, right? Now see here, this IUCN will provide you a list called Red Data List. Now this is very important, right? Red Data List. Now under this Red Data List, the biological species are categorized into different types: extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered. We will see all the things in detail, right? According to the Red Data List given by IUCN, all these species are categorized into 9 categories. 9 categories. Now the first one is extinct species. Now we have to deal in exhaustive about this, right? Extinct species, EX, and you have to remember the codes also, right? Now this is very important. Every time there will be one question on this Red Data List. Now what is this extinct category species? Now this designation is applied to the species in which the last individual has died, or where systematic and time appropriate surveys have been unable to track even a single individual, right? Now which species are categorized into this? Now I'll write the crux point, right? This is applied to the species in which last individual has died. Last individual has died, or where systematic and time appropriate surveys have been unable to track even a single individual. Now this type of species are categorized under extinct. Now see here, what are the examples? Indian cheetah, pink-headed duck are the examples of extinct. I'll write the examples also. Indian cheetah, pink-headed duck, pink-headed duck. Now these are the extinct species, right? Now see here, you have to be very clear about the 9 categories. Now the next one is extinct in the wild. Extinct in the wild. Now extinct in the wild is denoted as EW. Now which species are categorized into this? Now this category contains those species whose members survive only in captivity. Only in captivity means confined areas, right? So these species are members who survive only in captivity. I'll write on the crux points, right? Only in captivity. Captivity is nothing but confined areas. Now what are the examples, right? Guam kingfisher, Guam kingfisher, and the next example is alala. These are the two species, right? I mean, there are many species. I am giving two examples for each. Now the next category is critically endangered. You think that each and everything are same, but each and everything are not same, right? Critically endangered. CN. No, sorry, this is given as CR, critically endangered. CR. Right. Now, which species are categorized into this? Now, those species that possess an extremely high risk of extinction as a result of rapid population decline of 80% to more than 90% over previous 10 years. A current population size of fewer than 50 individuals are categorized into critically endangered. Now I'll summarize this. Now the species where their population declines 80% to more than 90%. Now that you can write in as currently fewer than 50 individuals or 50 species available. Now these type of species are categorized into critically endangered. Now what are the examples, right? Pygmy hawk, Kondana rat. Now see here, our favorite example, Eastern Himalayas, Nama Dafa squirrel. Flying squirrel. I'll write this example here, which you can observe in Eastern Himalayas, right? We have discussed in the previous video itself, right? Next one, after critically endangered, the next one is endangered. Now this is denoted as EN. Now which species are under endangered species? Now this designation is applied to the species, right, where there is a high risk of extinction, that's okay, and rapid decline in population also, you can say that. Now the decline is more than 50% to 70% over previous 10 years. A current size of population less than 250 individuals are categorized into endangered species, right? Now see here, less than 50% population declining to 70%, I mean extent of more than 70%, or fewer than 250 species available. Now see here, these criteria have to be considered over 10 years, right? Over 10 years for both critically endangered and endangered. Now this comes out under endangered category. Now any examples for this? Yes, your snow leopard, Ganga river dolphin, and you have an conservative scheme on river dolphins also, right? Now I'll give one example here, Ganga river dolphin. Ganga river dolphin. Next one, the next category is vulnerable. Right, VU. Now what is this vulnerable category? Now this designation is applied to the species, right, that possess high risk of endangerment, right, high risk of endangerment, right, Now this category was applied to the individuals having high risk of endangerment, means they are about to move into the category of endangered species. High risk of endangerment. This is the example. Any examples for this? Yes, olive ridley turtle, right? I'll give you one example for this. Many are there. I'm giving one. Olive ridley turtle, right? And your yak, your Nilgiri langur, all are under vulnerable category only, right? Now let us see the next one in the next slide. After vulnerable, the next category is near threatened. Near threatened. Now you have to learn this in detail, right? Near threatened, this was given as NT, right? Now vulnerable was denoted as VU. Yes, I written this. Near threatened. Now this designation is applied to the species that are close to become threatened, or they may meet the criteria for threatened status in the near future, right? Now see here, this category is applied to the species which are close to become threatened. Close to become threatened. Close to become threatened, or you can call it as may meet the criteria for threatened status in the near future. Example, house sparrow, leopard comes under near threatened status, right? Leopard. Done. Now the next category is least concern. LC. Now what is this least concern? A category containing species that are pervasive, means widely spread, and abundant after careful assessment is called least concern. Now the species which are under this category are highly pervasive. Pervasive means widely spread, and abundant after careful assessment. Abundant after careful assessment. Now these comes under least concern category. Now your examples are red bat, nilgai, right? I'll write one example here. Red bat. Next one, data deficient. Now what comes under data deficient category? Now this condition is applied to the species in which amount of available data related to its risk of extinction is lacking, right? Now the available data, I'll write down the crux point. Available data relating to risk of extinction. Risk of extinction is lacking. This type of species comes under data deficient category. Now the last category on a red data list is not evaluated. Not evaluated, NE. Right? Now this category of species include about nearly, which contains 1.6 millions of species described but not assessed by the IUCN members, comes under not evaluated category. Nearly 1.6 million species, nearly 1.6 million species described by the science but not assessed by IUCN comes under not evaluated category, right? Now see here, this red data list is very important. You cannot avoid this topic, right? Focus on this. I have given exhaustively regarding this. Done? Yes. Now let us go to the next concept called, the next convention, CITES. CITES. Now what is the full form of CITES? Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Now I'll write the full form, right? So it will be helpful for you. Convention on International Trade in endangered species. In endangered species, right, of wild fauna and flora, both animals and plants. Now this is the full form. Now I'll write all the full forms, right? One question will be there on this full forms in your Service Commission examination. Now what is this CITES? Now this is an international agreement between governments, right? It is an international agreement. I'll write on this point, right? International agreement between governments. Done. Now what this exactly aims to? Now it aims to ensure international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival, right? Now this main aim is, it looks upon the trade in specimens of flora and fauna which does not threaten their survival, right? Now see here, CITES was drafted in 1993 by the members of IUCN. Now 80 members are there under this representation. Done. Now this convention does not seek to directly protect endangered species, rather it aims to reduce the economic incentive, right? It aims to reduce economic activity. It cannot directly eliminate, right? It aims to reduce economic activity of poaching the endangered species and destroying their habitat by closing their international market, right? Now they help to reduce the economic activity. Done. Yes. Now let us go to the next convention, CMS. Now what is the full form of CMS? Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species. Right, of wild animals, migratory species of wild animals. I write the full thing. Now what this convention exactly says? Now this is an environmental treaty under under United Nations Environmental Program. Now it provides a global platform for the conservation and sustainable use of migratory birds. That is the widest thing, I mean generalized thing. Now see here, these migratory birds are threatened with extinction. These migratory birds which are threatened with extinction are listed in category, I mean appendix 1 of convention, whereas migratory species that need or would significantly benefit from international cooperation are listed in appendix 2 of the convention. Now this is the two appendix what you have to learn, right? Now these migratory species that are with extinction are listed in category 1. Now the migratory species that are threatened with extinction but they would significantly benefit from international cooperation, means they can be saved by international cooperation, are listed under category 2, right? Now see here, you can call it as appendix 1 also, right? Appendix 1, you can call it as appendix 2. Now this appendix 1 and appendix 2 are given in IUCN, right? Done? Got the point? Yes. Let us see the next conventions in the next video. Thank you.